What is up? Everyone is freaking out on Twitter and the rest of the internet over this monolith that they found in Utah out in the remote wilderness. These team of scientists that were looking for bighorn sheep in a helicopter flying around and spotted this shiny metal object. And those look like rivet holes. I want them to measure this and see if it has, what the exact dimensions are, if it's metric or U.S. standard units. Um, Still waiting for some more information to come back on this. Um, there's been some false information being spread about it already. Um, Looks like it was some type of sheet metal. Could have been manufactured by a sheet metal shop or a someone with access to a large brake. Um, a brake is a piece of equipment used for bending metal. In case it's not to be confused with a brake metal bending, right? You can find what a brake looks like. So this is what a brake looks like. It's a big long machine, and you slide the sheet metal in it, and then you flip a lever, and that will cause the metal to bend. Um, and then, of course, looks like it was riveted, and then the rivets were sort of polished down and to hide them or get them to move away. Very interesting, very cool. Of course, the history, you can see that this is there's some off the reflection on here. It looks like some sort of stainless steel or aluminum sheet metal. Like, who would have access to this kind of stuff is there's a company local to me. It's called Trimark. But Trimark makes industrial food processing equipment. They make like large refrigerators. They make like big slop sinks for restaurants and restaurant equipment, like stuff for restaurants and stuff. And Trimark Corp is just one of many companies that make kind of like that have access to large sheet metal and manufacturing equipment to build something like this. So I'm just throwing out ideas to get people thinking. I'm more thinking man-made, obviously. I didn't, my first conclusion when I saw this wasn't, oh God, that's got to be aliens. We all saw, it's not like we saw Space Odyssey. So let's talk about where this whole idea kind of comes from in the history of it. In the 70s, Stanley Kubrick, oh, actually it was 68. It's a 1968 film by Stanley Kubrick, and it was called 2001: A Space Odyssey. If you haven't seen it, you probably should. It was like at the dawn of the manned space program, and there was a lot of hype and anticipation for what the future might have held at that point. We hadn't. Um, I think this was before we actually. Yeah, this was '68, so it was a year before the Apollo 11 mission put Neil Armstrong on the moon. So it would have the whole moon scene at the end. So there's a scene at the very beginning of the movie, and it's these apes, and the apes come across the monolith, and they all don't know what to make of it, and they all kind of just crowd around it, and then I guess it starts them fighting and starts the first war, if I remember. I don't think I ever saw the movie. I think I read the book. I know I read the book, so I remember from the book it starts a fight, and then the fight between the apes creates these two warring factions, and then that's like the first part of that develops intelligence and civilization, is that these monkeys created two separate tribes that started having to do war against each other. The first war was started. They smash one of them smashes the other one over the head with like a leg bone or something, and then they start this big fight, and this leads to all this. It's basically like the history of war and human species, and that like this one monkey tribe splits into two monkey tribes, and they both start fighting each other, and then they start developing smarter ways to fight each other, and that's how they slowly develop more and more intelligence over thousands of years, is when with all these warring factions and warring tribes doing battle with one another and having to develop more sophisticated spears and axes and swords and shields and weapons technologies to basically overcome their enemies and survive. So it's interesting kind of way to start the book and to talk about mankind's addiction to war and warfare, and how it actually warfare might have some beneficial consequences that again the smartest ones with the best technology were the tribes that survived and took over the other and took over the world, like Genghis Khan and Alexander the Great and stuff like this. It was because of the technology and the knowledge that they possessed that allowed them to do that and proliferate. So anyways, this is sort of the history behind it. And then of course, at the end of the movie, there's another monolith. When the man first lands on the moon, they find a monolith on the moon. And and that's sort of like the end of the movie, is them finding the monolith on the moon and walking down into it. And then the movie just... So that whole idea is that the monolith represents, something greater, this extraterrestrial presence, or this, this species, that we're not alone, and that this is like its way of communicating with us. It's, kind of like a little bit better message marker than a crop circle. But the whole idea is that this monolith, I guess the one of the takeaways that other people have had from the monolith is that it represents the Kardashev scale, and a type, like a type 3. Okay, so I don't know what these type 100 is, but Kardashev scale, original scale, only had type 0, type 1, and type 2, and type 3. And that the monolith is essentially a intelligent AI hyper, computer kind of thing. And they have the first AI in this movie. They talk about what the first AI would be like, and it's a computer called HAL. Interestingly, in the 2001: A Space Odyssey. But the Kardashev scale was this whole scale that was developed to rank civilizations based on their energy scale and how far they reached into the universe. And type 3 was, said to be intergalactic. Type 0 is we don't leave Earth. That's us right now. Type 1 is we actually leave Earth and become interplanetary and become colonizing other planets. Then type 2 is interstellar, and then type 3 is intergalactic, which is much larger scale. And so the idea of the intergalactic civilization is that this monolith, or these monoliths, apparently are intergalactic, not just interstellar. Like, if you understand the scale of the universe here, for people that don't understand, the size difference between planets is just our local realm here, and then we're in the Milky Way galaxy, and then we're just in an expanse of many galaxies, and these are all the galaxies. If you zoom way out, we're just one of these little galaxies, and we're a solar system, one of the stars in one of those galaxies. So the idea is that the intergalactic, or type 3, are sending out these intelligent machines, or these monoliths. They're just blasting them out everywhere into space, intergalactic, so that they send them to these other galaxies, and they land. They basically, the monoliths go and they seek out places where life could evolve. They look for life habitable planets, and then they direct their course there, and they land there, and they wait, and they supposedly they monitor, or they do other signals and intelligence to help these species along. That it's kind of like this. Maybe the monolith has existed for all of time, and that it's basically created the first life forms from the primordial soup. It's kind of acted as some sort of catalyst to these reactions. This is kind of like a deeper meaning to the monolith. I hope that kind of helps clarify what it all means and what it is for people. But I just watching the video of this thing. It looks man-made, and it is really interesting. They did a good job with it. They're obviously artists. The way that but the scientist said, who looked at it, he said that it looked like it had been purposely placed in the ground. It wasn't like the ground moved aside or vaporized and this was placed there. It was definitely like put there by some artist who built this and put it there. But still, it's really cool, and it's getting a lot of attention and stuff. So I figured we might as well revisit the whole idea of the monolith and talk about that. And who knows? Maybe there's people still holding out that it could be something more. But I'm not. I like to joke around and think about it. But it's fun. It's a fun fantasy idea. I'm sorry to burst anyone's bubble who still wants to entertain the fantasy. But you kind of have to put some reality to everything. But anyways, this is apparently where it is. I watched a couple other streams where people were saying that this, wasn't the real site, right south of Moab, Utah, out here in the Red Rocks Canyon. You can see the red rock all around them in the video. It looks actually a little bit more red than this does here. I found areas that look much more red than this particular area. But it appears to match the local geology and the local terrain pretty nicely. Although I don't see like the maybe this is where the faces were, or this is where I don't know which side it was, but apparently this is the monolith right here. It appeared on Google Earth. It wasn't there a few years ago, so it's pretty recently been placed out there. And these scientists, again, they're counting bighorn sheep from a helicopter. Another interesting thing I'll point out is that that the bighorn sheep out there, they did this whole land grab on Area 51, supposedly for a bighorn sheep environment and everything. There was a big land grab for Area 51. That's something worth looking up, and I learned a bunch of things from watching those videos about the scientists who study the bighorn sheep. And apparently there's big water tanks out here in the desert, which a couple other YouTubers have mistaken for UFOs. They're like, look, see the round shape of the water tank and a metal object out in the middle of the desert, middle of nowhere. And they're like, oh my God, it's a UFO. Look at it's. And there's been a bunch of videos I've seen of people, doing that, and those are actually watering tanks for the bighorn sheep, which is kind of funny. But I'm pretty sure this is, until someone shows me a better, candidate for the location, and then I'm pretty sure that this is the actual site of the monolith. It's interesting. Now it says Utah Metal Monolith in Monticello, Utah. Last night I clicked on this and it said the rod from God. Yeah, here, if you click here, it says the rod from God. If you click this right here, it says but if you click down a little bit lower, it says the rod from God. Interesting. The rod from God. If you look for up rods from God, you'll find stuff on kinetic weapons. These big telephone pole size things that they have in these satellites in space. Apparently the NSA has these kinetic weapons, and they can drop one of these rods, and it just has the energy of an atomic bomb because it goes so fast. It builds up so much kinetic energy. And those are what rods from God are. Kinetic energy weapons. You can look them up. Kinetic bombardment right here. Air Force rods from God. Yep, yeah, pretty cool stuff. If you want to look up that, but yeah, I don't know what the deal is with this monolith until we get some more information in, but the scientists already, they weren't exactly metallurgists or anything, they were biologists who were studying bighorn sheep, but still they're scientists, and I'll take their word over someone else, because they have a little bit more credibility to defend than some guy saying, oh my God, it's got to be an alien. But yeah, watch the interview with the guys. Anyways, but another interesting thing that I wanted to bring up is that a couple people have remembered. They talked about the time Buzz Aldrin was on C-SPAN and dropped this little thing about a monolith on Mars. Apparently on the moon. On the Mars moon. Sorry. Yeah, right. So that was interesting that people have said that, this was like a glitch in the matrix, or that he dropped this bombshell about it. Honestly, he's really I really look at that, and Buzz is trying to get the audience interested in pursuing space exploration. He's really, at this point, he was really, bummed with the way that, NASA had defunded the space shuttle operations, and they were going, we were going a different direction nationally with our space exploration goals, and I think that he dropped this sort of, because they had photographs of this structure on Mars. We've since got higher definition photographs, and it's kind of debunked the idea that it's this monolith, and that but we did, it did get funding to go and investigate it more. It got a lot of people interested in that, and I think that was his goal in saying that, because he's, he didn't nothing really much more came from that. But there's a whole bunch of videos on here, like they got Alex Jones on there talking about this monolith too, and then the some of these images of it right here. Apparently this object is on Mars, and it's just a natural. This guy said it's a natural formation. But yeah, it would be cool to go on there and find some better evidence. Like I'd like to see a high def. I'd like to see some like more detailed studies on these objects and these things before I'm really of any convinced belief. It seems like this is something that we got from science fiction, from a Stanley Kubrick film back in the 60s, and it's kind of stuck with us culturally, and that when we find stuff like this, it's like, oh, aha, see, I don't know, I think it's more of what is going on there. I don't know. Oh, you can't hear the audio from Buzz, huh? Well, that's all right. You can go on there. You can go on there and watch the video yourselves, guys. It's only a minute long. I'll post it in the live chat right here, and people can find it. Just search for it. But anyways, it's interesting. It's in the news. It's a phenomenon in and of itself. Just to kind of think about, people getting this idea from pop culture and from movie, and then some artist getting the gusto to spend his time and money. I mean, the metal alone. I mean, if that's stainless steel, that's got to be like a couple $100 worth of for that piece of metal, brand new. It's got to be. It's got to be. It had this. It's even on a budget. It'd have to cost like around $1,000. Like even just buying the raw materials and then just donating your time to build this, like with the right setup and everything. $1,000 easy. So if someone invested, big into this, not big, but they invested a considerable amount of time and energy. That's just $1,000 in materials, not to mention the time it would have taken you to construct this thing, and then transport it way the hell out into the desert and stick it in the ground like this. Like, who does that? Well, be interesting to find out. In any case, yeah, that's enough for this morning. I just wanted to cover this story, and kind of give my perspective, because people seem to be going off the deep end and going crazy with it. And I had a little fun with it myself on Twitter. Some guy posted a picture of the mailbox, and I said, oh, it's an alien email server and whatnot. But anyways, yeah, that's about all I have to say with this. We'll get back to some better news and information soon, guys. We're gonna have more of those conferences. The last conference we did with Mark McCandlish on my YouTube channel last Saturday has gone amazing. It did amazing. I mean, it's been one of my most successful videos in a while. We had a ton of people on there, and it's getting shared. It was 6 hours long. I mean, it's a lot of old stuff in history, and some stuff that we're not really sure about, but we got a team of engineers analyzing the hell out of these people, and tearing this stuff apart, and trying hard to rebuild it. And if there's anything there, we're going to find it. The goal is to discover what technologies, the whole idea is that the government's been working on a lot of anti-gravity and gravity research, all right, for years in secret. I know this because I've been researching it for 16 years, and I have a whole page that you guys can go on. I'm going to be updating this onto my. I'm going to be putting all this stuff on alienscientists.com soon, and I need to update this because I have so much more stuff. But I have a whole list of, studies that were done and all the different research that's been done over the years into anti-gravity and warp drives and stuff, trying to trying to figure out, how this stuff works. Did our government figure it out years ago, and do they have craft already built with this stuff? And are these things that people see flying around, all these UFOs and stuff, or some, I mean, obviously some of them are misidentified objects and stuff, but are some of them top secret craft? And where's the research gone, and where is it at today? So we've done a lot of stuff to dig into that past and some of those other claims of projects that were successful or not, and trying to replicate the science and the experiments that were done by going back over the history. And it's also a process of declassification, and there's a lot of history lost to classification because all this stuff was so secret. A lot of the histories it's going to be gone very soon because it just never gets told, because it's this security, so much security around some of these ideas and some of these things that happened. But it's important history, and it's important for us, as a process. Like everything that's common knowledge now was pretty much declassified or not. Like all the stuff about the atomic bomb was really highly classified back in the day, and all that's declassified now in common knowledge to scientists, and it helps us as scientists to advance further and understand our universe better when we have access to these kinds of this kind of information that's been withheld from so many people for so long. So that's part of the effort that we're doing here is trying to document and bring all that out to the public, and also get more witnesses and more, eyewitnesses to history to come forward and be interviewed on this channel to tell their stories. Whether they're just stories or not, it doesn't matter. I'm going to let people tell their stories, and then we're going to dig in and find the gems that we can do something engineerable with the science, and we're going to try it until we find out, until we find something that works. I'm not convinced. My lab partners are convinced that they will be successful with some of these older experiments and some of the other things that I've studied, but I'm not so convinced yet. I think that a lot of these guys have been working their entire lives, hosting these propulsion conferences, getting the best and smartest minds in the whole country to go and attend these conferences and bring ideas for gravity and how to test gravity and how to, engineer models that will work. There's been a host of these conferences, SpaceIF, STAFE2, and DARPA goes to a lot of these and recruits new concept projects out of these all the time. Like the M drive, for example, that started in one of these. The whole M drive thing started in one of these at one of these conferences, and now it's got DARPA funding. There's a whole bunch of physicists that fucking hate it and swear it's bullshit and don't even want to talk about it. They get mad if you even ask them about it, and that's what's awesome. I love this kind of stuff because we should not be comfortable. The minute we get into a comfort zone and we get comfortable, you start becoming lazy and you start becoming stupid, and that's not what science is about. Science can only push forward in the presence of diverse ideas and differing opinions and differing theories. If we're all in an echo chamber and we all agree all the time and with everything, then we're not really going to get anywhere. And so I love the fighting. I love the arguing. Jack Sarfati needs to get his ass on this channel and stop being a little bitch. Straight up. You're a good man and you've done some good work, and I know we're both friggin' a little bit ornery dickheads sometimes, and maybe we'll have a little bit of clash in personalities there, but that's fine. We can put that aside for the sake of science. Then I'd like us to do so. I may not have a PhD, but I still have an audience, and I still have a lot of scientists who watch this stuff and to stay fresh and come up and share new ideas, because this is what I'm all about. New ideas, new stuff. Pushing disclosure to new levels, because if you want disclosure, you're not gonna find it, just watching the mainstream news, reading the New York Times articles, and listening to George Knapp and Leslie Kean. or Corey Good and David Wilcox and all those guys. It's just not where real disclosure is happening, as where we're finding out. As I've found out, we're pushing that envelope into new content and new material, and we've got a lot of supporters coming forward now that we're starting to gain some momentum and some steam with this. We've gotten just incredible outpouring of support from the community, and that's awesome. I want to thank everybody out there. I want to give a shout out to Nixa, based Bidoof, based. I've seen you in the chats a lot on these live streams. That's awesome. Whatever, Barnes. I don't see Renee out there. I saw her last night on some of the other live streams I was watching. But Steve, what's up? Demetrius, Shane, just giving shout outs to everyone. Thank you for joining the live chats, man. Much love. And we got a lot of outpouring of people giving us support to get more of these live streams going with more interviews with more scientists. This is the content people want. This is what they're starved for. We got emails going around like nonstop. I got Eric Davis responding. He's Eric Davis has been on here. I don't want to share all these email addresses and stuff, but we got some interesting characters coming in to the mix. We're getting some attention now. The things we're talking about and what we're putting out there, so it's good. I want to get more newer, current scientists on, because it's kind of like this was 6 hours and it was a lot of the older stuff. We had Alzafan from '81 and the Mark McCandless stuff from the '80s or '70s, or I don't know when that craft originated, but that's been around. This is old stuff. It's been around for a while. It's not like the new stuff that we stumbled across with that terahertz research group. That terahertz research group, man, fascinating stuff. What a find that was to stumble across this. The Air Force had done that raid, said it was for marijuana, and it totally turned out that it wasn't about marijuana. That was a lie to throw people off, and that the whole raid was really about these 1,000 pages of classified documents, which 1,000 pages really isn't that much. That could be a couple manuals. That could be a couple papers. But what's interesting is we go into this guy Isaac Kemp, who we found through that, and go into some of the people who are working in this terahertz and ultra-fast photonics research lab. This is where we hit sort of the mother lode, because now we can go and find all these guys, read all their papers. We've got all Isaac Kemp's papers, so we know all the stuff that he was studying and his curriculum and the kinds of research that he was doing. And I read his thesis paper. Very interesting stuff. He talks about surface plasmon polaritons, which is a topic we've brought up before. I brought up before this even came out. Was talking about this and said this is a hot topic. This is where a lot of classified research is going into, this aerospace direction on enzenic surface waves, the ways to create these surface transmissions of these entrapped fields on the surface of materials, using this phenomenon called extraordinary optical transmission. And when they get the right kind of material going, you get this optical transmission that's perfect, and it just absorbs and can hold, and you can build massive amounts of energy under the surfaces of these craft with these by means of these surface plasmon polaritons or xenic surface waves. And this was the research this guy was doing at Wright-Patterson. This is what's not classified, right? Obviously, this is the stuff they say it's for aerospace applications and using terahertz imaging to look under paint to be able to analyze aircraft hulls and look at things underneath the paint. And there's a whole bunch of stuff I've been doing research on there. They want to use the terahertz technology to look at the Mona Lisa and figure out so they can look back through all the layers of the paint and kind of see all the way to the canvas behind there. With these optical techniques that they didn't have previously. But but they'll allow us to penetrate things, and basically these lasers that allow us to see into stuff and see through things. It's like X-ray vision to like a whole nother level. Um, Very interesting technology, very interesting stuff. That's just the unclassified stuff. Now, the classified stuff, I'm convinced, is related to propulsion technologies and these advanced skin coatings that were discovered from some of the materials that were recovered in crash sites in the 40s. Um, Again, there's a bunch of new revelations on some of that material. I'll post a link in the live stream for people that want to learn about that. I really need to do a whole other episode just talking about all these revelations and just all the weird coincidences and the research that's been done into the people, these especially these metallurgists from Battelle, surrounding what happened to that debris after Roswell and where it went to, and why there was military industrial complex contractors like Battelle doing progress reports for Wright-Patterson immediately afterwards, that we can't find copies of the, some of the original. That we found the second progress report, but no one's been able to locate the first progress report. It's gone. It's missing. It's just completely, like, the Battelle archivists looked for it. They couldn't find it. It's gone. But anyways, these are very interesting developments in the whole scheme of things. I think we're very close to cracking this. We all know Ben Rich of Lockheed Skunk Works famously said that we already have the technology to take ET home. And these projects are bundled up so deeply in the black world that it would take an act of God to ever get them released. Well, maybe what we're seeing in 2020 here is an act of God. I don't know, because some of this information is I'm trying to. It's obviously here. These are classified documents that the Air Force was concerned with. What is the Air Force doing terahertz research for? Except, to look. It's obviously not to look in paint. Not to look. That's not like the whole deal, right? Maybe there's some intellectual property and specifics that's the classified portion of this, about how they actually are able to do the imaging underneath paint and stuff. But that just, I don't know. There's got to be something more to this, especially when they that whole thing with the marijuana plants, because that's going to throw a lot of foreign scientists off, because they're going to see marijuana plants, and marijuana is freaking like heroin in half the world, Not here in America, where it's legal in a lot of states, and it becoming more and more acceptable and legal. In a lot of other parts of the world, like, marijuana is seen as like, that's like heroin, bro. So if you're like, it's the last place they'd see that and they'd just turn the other way. They wouldn't think like, oh, this guy's involved in classified research. So that could be. It's a very interesting psychological technique that was done in the media there with WHIO News. If you go and look through all the news reports on how this story developed, see the first report here. Very interesting stuff that I stumbled across this group when I was just searching for Wright-Patterson and top secret Air Force documents, and I found this. I'm like, oh, this was from last year, bro. Like, this is like recent. So what's the Air Force doing, studying terahertz? Terahertz waves and xenic surface plasma polaritons and all this stuff that I've been talking about in relation to negative mass, and these new concepts for propulsion, inertial cancellation drives and whatnot. In any case, yeah, this is a big leak. This is bigger than the Wilson leaks, man. People pumped that Wilson leaks for like 2 years, a year. This is like real science, real shit. People need to be plugging this and like calling it the Wright State University, the Wright-Patterson leak. Call it the Wright-Patterson leak. It's nothing. None of the pages have actually like really leaked out, but this is still a huge leak of intelligence, because we have insights now inside, what the Air Force is doing. We know this. I know for a fact this is related to propulsion. I've been talking about this for 2 years before I found this. I've been talking about surface plasma on polaritons. I've been talking about what polaritons do, and that there's top secret stuff going on in this polariton research. I've been saying that for years, man, and fucking Mark doesn't want to listen. He's convinced that, oh no, they figured it out back in the 50s, and we can figure out anti-gravity just by redoing all these old experiments. And I'm like, bro, you're gonna like, I just hope that it build that effort is builds steam towards these future experiments with the hyper extraordinary optical transmission optics. I believe that the real secret to anti-gravity is in photonics and optics, and that part in the terahertz range where electronics and optics merge and become one and the same. It's sort of like that's where we're going to have quantum computers, and I really believe that the surface of these craft need to be pretty much quantum computers in order to do warp drive. We're gonna need like the whole surface of the craft to be essentially be a quantum optical computer, and it's all about setting up these optical modes in these resonant cavities and getting the perfect resonant states in order to host these plasma and polariton modes, which make it easy to pump energy into these things and get really large energies really fast. Again, no one else is talking about this kind of stuff, and it makes me really, like wonder why not. And some of the guys in my group are like, well, we have to work up to this kind of stuff because we have to build a little bit of momentum first, because this stuff is like more expensive and more high end equipment. And I feel like when we go through we build up enough momentum doing all the old experiments, and those need to be done too, because we just got to make sure and 100% convince ourselves that we didn't miss anything, that if they figured this out back. And then also, it's not just about, even if they don't work or work partially, it's still giving us insights into the kind of thought process and the patterns that led to where we are today with the research. So if the military and the government has been doing all this research in secret for all these decades, which we have now, and we're now just beginning to publicly revisit and dig through all this stuff and redo the experiments and bring it out to the public, then there's got to be clues in here along the path, along with some maybe red herrings, put stuff put in here to send people in the wrong direction, which we always have to, be careful of that too. But we have to look at where all the stuff is leading and what direction it's kind of going. And I really feel the material science and the optics is going to be key to a lot of this stuff. And just from the experiments that we've done, just learning, like, one of the things that always happens, right, that we always see is these multiple frequencies. There's got to be two frequencies. And all these anti-gravity experiments where we get these weird anomalous results, we always get these beat frequencies. There's always more than one frequency that has to go on. It's never just one frequency you hit it with, and that's the magic frequency, and it works. And it's always two frequencies, and it's always different, and there's no, like, real understanding of like why it works and how it works and why we get these anomalies certain times and why we don't. And I think that it has to do with these squeezed coherent states, because it's got to be quantum in nature. The way that these machines work, the way that these warp drives and skin coatings work, it has to be some kind of quantum gravity or quantum mechanics. So we look deep into the realm of quantum mechanics and quantum condensed matter physics, which is basically the realm of how we get from material science and building materials that can actually interact on the quantum level. We do it with condensed matter physics. We do it with solid state physics and condensed matter physics. So when we get condensed matter condenses and becomes all these wavelengths that are ordinarily random, like the stuff we're talking about with nuclear orientation and spin states in the Alzaphan experiment. That's all quantum stuff. And that's where we really feel like this is where they had the first insights into, like, really getting a grasp on understanding that the nature of how these craft work is got to be quantum mechanics, because they look at these materials, they can't figure out how they're built, they can't figure out how they work. Nothing about them, and all the parts are invisible. They're so small, and there's no wires, there's no nothing. they're looking at this stuff. But anyways, the squeezed quantum states is what I found. When you have squeezed vacuum, which is this is what looks like beat frequencies. That's what happens when beat frequencies are what happens when you put two two waves together. Anytime you get two waves in acoustics, you get what are called beats, where the amplitude goes to zero at these points. And what that does in a vacuum is create squeezed vacuum state, or coherent, squeezed coherent states. So you get the first frequency to kind of cohere them. No, I don't know if it's quite like that, but anyways, it's all about reducing quantum noise. The whole idea is we believe that gravity is a function of quantum noise, and that there's more noise between masses because they're interacting more photonically, and that that quantum noise is what actually creates the gravity. It's what actually is the cause of gravitation, is this quantum noise. Well, if you squeeze these coherent states, it resolves all that quantum noise. It's like a filter for quantum noise. So it's like a filter for gravity, or could be. Anyways, this is where we're at. This is where I think we need to be going with it, just from the research that I've done, and yeah, I want to just share that with everybody because I think this is more important than this hunk of metal that they found out in the desert, which is obviously put there by a bunch of art students or artists or people that are good with metal manufacturing. All right. So hopefully those people get a hold of this information, and I'd like to see, I don't know, I don't like to see, stuff used as a vehicle for getting information out, but sometimes if it needs to happen, if this information's got to come out, bro. And any way we can get it out is good for me. So anyways, 40 minutes into this, I'm gonna get off this and head to work. It's 7:00 a.m. here in Rhode Island, and participating. We're gonna have some kick-ass guests coming up on the next couple of live streams, man. And also check me out tomorrow night. No, don't check not me out. You got to go on check Steve Cambian out tomorrow night on. He's having Cal Korf on. Let me just give a couple plugs to my boys. I was on Steve Cambian the other night, just called in late to one of his impromptu shows, but he's going to be doing, if you go to Steve Cambian's YouTube, he's going to be doing a the Truth Seekers episode with Cal Korf, and they're going to be talking about Roswell, and he's going to be hitting, Cal Korf's like the big Roswell skeptic, and we're going to be hitting him with some really good questions about this Wright-Patterson stuff and the Battelle metal studies and all the stuff that we've learned about Battelle, and we're going to see what the top debunker has to say about all that stuff. Should be quite an interesting show. I hope to see you all in the live chat over there on the Truth Seekers. I think it's Truth Seekers. I don't know, man. Steven created a new channel or something, and yeah, this is it. It's Truth Seekers. Boom. Yeah, Cal Korf will be on here tomorrow night. That should be super interesting. And then we're gonna be on. I'm gonna be on Steve's show too in a week or so. We're gonna be doing a podcast. So I think I posted something about that already on Twitter, but I'm plugging that more so people can go and check into that. Definitely check that out. Cool stuff. Also gonna be on a couple other podcasts hopefully coming up soon. I gotta set dates with these people. I just been so busy. I just been like, people want to do more podcasts and talk about stuff, but we'll see. Keep at me, because I didn't forgot about you. I just get caught up in other stuff, and then this monolith crap comes along my feed, and I gotta dive into that for a freaking 2 hours this morning. Waste my time. Thanks. Thanks for watching, guys. Yeah, XRF guns. We could probably rent some of the stuff to do some of these. Thunderfoot, dude. Oh my God, Thunderfoot's. I haven't even watched Thunderfoot's new video. He made a new video shitting on the Hyperloop. Where is the Hyperloop video? Which I never really liked Hyperloop too much. I thought that the ET3 was kind of a better idea in some ways, but not. I don't know. The vacuum thing scares a lot of people because it's like if there's one leak, it's like you're gonna get fucking turned into jelly and boil your blood and skin off in instance. Um, but yeah, there's some. The biggest scam since Theranos is what he calls it, you know. And I don't know if you guys don't know who Thunderfoot is. He's this guy who's like thinks he's an engineer, but he's really just a YouTube video maker. And he sits there and calls everything is bullshit. It's just absolute bullshit. It's total bullshit. 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 Everything's fucking bullshit, according to him. It's just like the theme of his channel. It's just people watch him to listen to him scream bullshit at stuff. And it's kind of like this whole I don't know, they're not doing real science. It's not, some of it's real science. And sometimes he brings up some good points and stuff, but it's really like pattern recognition, you know, to a point. It's just like, all right, we've seen enough bullshit. We know how to spot bullshit, and this is what bullshit looks like. So everything that looks like this has got to be bullshit. Even though sometimes real science and real new discoveries look like bullshit sometimes. And if you're not careful, you can easily call things bullshit, you know, without looking deeper, you know. Like half the people do when they watch that friggin' original Hover Brothers launch video. Man, I really screwed up with that one. But you learn from your mistakes. You know, that's all right. We're doing good in the future, and yeah, the database. Oh, the database. The thing with the database, right? There's a lot of stuff like that's on Rents research that comes from, you know, like Rex research. Sorry, not Rents. Rex research, I think was. There's a lot of stuff we have that's from. It's a lot of stuff that we've compiled is like the stuff that's behind other people's paywalls. You know, it's like we've dived into all these really great archives that already exist, and we got behind their paywall and got like their stuff. So we can't like just go and publish that and release it all. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. There's a lot of technical difficulties to doing like a disclosure dump with as far as this database. We've compiled like a massive amount of research. We've got like everything all in one spot, like just hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean, probably thousands of years if you count it all up. It would take you 100 years just to go through all the stuff in the archive at this point. But you know, it's just mainly there for specific research and viewing. So if you like, all right, I need some stuff on magnetohydrodynamics, and you just search for that, and you can find tons of stuff on magnetohydrodynamics and stuff. So yeah, there's some technical difficulties with releasing that as a whole thing because there's a lot of proprietary stuff and other stuff in there that's there's a reason why it's not going to get disclosed or dumped, and just know that the archive has gotten out to all of my core group, and it goes to like a bunch of key people, and we've made tons of backup copies so they can't ever possibly get rid of this information. It is here to fucking stay, and then no amount of censorship, all they can do is run disinformation and counterintelligence and red herrings to try and push people in the wrong directions. That's all they can do at this point because we have this database, we have all the information. We have a lot of information. We probably don't have all there's probably so much stuff that's still classified that we would love to get our hands on, but again, it's that kind of a thing is I mean, if someone sent me a document or someone sent me like a thing, we started getting mail, I'd put new stuff out there that if stuff came to me and stuff, but I can't put other people's stuff that they're making money off of, and I can tell people it's there to go buy stuff off them, but I'm not going to go and get behind ResearchGate's paywall, download all their folders, and then go and release them for free. It's just not. I don't know. That's not disclosure. That's people can already find that. They can already get access to that stuff if they just have to pay for it. Know where to look. But anyways, it's kind of like a service to my group. Not everyone needs access. Not everyone out there in this group needs access to all this stuff too. You know what I mean? Think about this, right? What does Joe Schmo in his freaking parents' basement, who does no clue about physics, need with all these advanced physics papers on, magnetohydrodynamics or electrohydrodynamics? Probably you're not gonna read those. You need to go to school for 4 years and get a bachelor's degree just to start, being able to understand some of those equations. Never mind, like, really get into that stuff. Like I used to read papers back in the day, and they would just make no sense to me, and I'd be like, what the heck is this gobbledygook? And then after 4 years at college, then you go and read those papers, and suddenly, oh, this makes sense, and this is super interesting, and this stuff, there's stuff there that you don't see, and so what's the point of releasing that? We already have the group. We're putting this group together. We're setting up the research community. We're renting out a hotel down in New Jersey at our lab, too, so that we can host, because we're going to get a bunch of people. We're going to get a bunch of people down here at the lab in New Jersey, and we're just going to have an open workshop. We're flying all our engineers and all our best technicians are bringing all their best stuff, and we're flying them all out for a week before Christmas. And we're going to do a bunch of labs for like a week straight down at Falcon Space. And that should be super interesting. And we have the group, and we're building this community. So we're inviting other people who have information and other people who want to get involved to come down, to join up and link up. And, if you become part of the group and part of the network, we'll give you access to whatever information you request for the research that you want to do. If we get someone that joins our group and he's like, look, I'm just an EPR guy, and I want to do just EPR stuff. We have a guy like that already. But say there's one guy that just wants to do Podkletnov. In fact, we're trying to get Podkletnov to come on the show and do the interview. We're trying to get a bunch of the Russian guys, the Russian anti-gravity scientists, on for a special episode of Russian anti-gravity tech. That would be cool to do as well. Man, there's so much stuff that needs there's a lack of content in this field, and there needs to be more of it. And that's exactly what I want to do and set up and bring forward, is to bring more of this information out, more of these discussions. We need to be bombarding the community with this. This is the real disclosure. This is real information. It may not be on it may be on a technical level that's way above what most people can understand or comprehend. But that's what you need to if you understand alien shit and talk to aliens, you're gonna need to get on some pretty higher level shit than fucking looking at a monolith in the middle of the Utah desert. I'm just saying. Okay, a piece of metal in the desert. We're gonna have to get on some higher level stuff. That's what I want to set up here with the group we're setting up, and then we have the database already, and we have the team. So it's like, anyone who needs access to that database, just join the team and come on and tell us what you're doing, and you'll have access to the database. That's how it is, and we'll give you access to whatever you need. And people who message me I have people message me all the time, like, hey, I'm doing research into this, or I'm doing research into that. Can you help me out? What can you give me? What can you show me? And so I'm just like, okay, let me do it. Let me get some stuff together and show you. So when people come to me with specific questions and they're looking for specific information or specific materials, then I'll provide those to those people, and that's, I don't know, that's kind of the way it is. It's a small community. There's not a lot of people involved in this right now. But I know there's a bigger community out there that just people haven't found us yet. And that once they do, and that once more people more scientists come to the realization that there's the time for ridicule and is over with this. The people that ridicule this and think it's all freaking nonsense and alien stuff are going to be left in the fucking dust, And the people that come together and join this lab and work together and build this are going to be a fucking breakaway civilization. In fact, we were talking about forming our own breakaway civilization. If we just got like a whole compound and invited everyone there just to like, all right, we're gonna start our own community. And we're just gonna build a ship and build into gravity and get the fuck off this planet as like a breakaway community, like our own independent community, just our own civilization, and just screw everyone else that doesn't want to take part in this, that thinks it's pseudoscience or whatever. You can stay in your world. We're just gonna go over here and we're gonna start going to space on our own and say fuck you. And I don't know. There's all kinds of laws against this now. Too. Laws against private space enterprise. So, private space flight, as in about 2018, I think it was 2016 or so. It started, dawning on the government that private citizens like Bigelow and these other people are going to start going to space on their own eventually. We're going to build craft and we're going to go to space on our own. So they started making laws about, who can go to space, where you can launch, all this stuff, which again is important. If you, launching rockets and stuff, you don't want it, going over major population centers in case anything happens. You don't want a rocket falling on New York. You'd rather have it launch from Cape Canaveral and have it fall somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, like NASA does. So yeah, there's could be some positive arguments in favor of setting up laws around this sort of stuff. But we're not using rockets. I don't think advanced anything uses rockets. In fact, I would bet money that they don't. I would bet a lot of money that they don't use rockets. There's something else. And again, we're trying to figure out what that something else is, and we're going to, and you're not going to fucking stop us. Period. Humanity is free, and we're breaking away. And the government can pretty much, shove it up their asses. That's all I have to say. Screw you guys. I don't care about your authority. I don't care about your stupid arguments for why this stuff needs to... it needs to remain classified because our enemies could have it. My fucking enemies already have this. The worst enemy I could possibly imagine. An enemy that killed a president. JFK. Murdered. When they did the investigation into the John F. Kennedy assassination and stuff, there were some Texas oil men and some business guys and some politicians and stuff, Nixon and LBJ. But one of the interesting connections to all this fuckery that's gone on in this country for years and years is the private aerospace industry. Thane Eugene Caesar. Look up this guy on Wikispooks. Thane Eugene Caesar. He was a security guard for Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. And he was hired as extra security for the Ambassador Hotel the night that RFK was assassinated. In fact, he's the guard that walked directly behind RFK and led him into the kitchen where Sirhan, the hypnotized patsy, the Manchurian candidate, was sitting waiting with a loaded pistol with I think it was a 6-shot revolver. They found 8 shots, 8 bullets. The government can suck my fucking dick. And the aerospace industries that have been keeping this shit classified for years and killing presidents, killing future potential presidents. We know RFK would have won that election. And he would have been president, not Nixon. Fucking corrupt Watergate Nixon. All right? I'm sorry. I just get beside myself with this because this has been the reason for so much fuckery in this country. Thane Eugene Caesar. Everyone should know this man's name and know that the private aerospace, that Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, was directly involved in the assassination of the president and the future president. They found all kinds of private aerospace ties to the network that assassinated JFK in Dallas and New Orleans, and the same kind of people. It's all tied to Roswell and the technology, the X technology, and I'm convinced of that now after watching a lot of the new dark journalists exposés and the stuff that DJ's been putting out. Man, Daniel List, thank you, you're the man, and I hope to get on your show someday to really talk about the technology side of all this X tech and all the, what's been, because this is what's been protected. This is what they're killing people over. And they can fucking come kill me, because I ain't going to stop until you do, motherfuckers. This shit's coming out. The whole truth. And I hope all of it comes out. And the people that did this to us, the people that held us back from our, our goddamn ascension, they've literally put living hell on this freaking earth for the past 50, 60 years, man. We've just, this entire country's just gone to shit. Everybody hates each other. They're miserable. We're a bunch of fucking warmongering dicks. Everyone fucking concerned about putting money in their pocket. No one gives a fuck about anybody else but themselves. And it's all because of this bullshit. This corporate fucking greed. These people that fucking had this technology and sat on it for their own fucking profit for decades and decades and killed people over it, so that they could stay fucking filthy rich and make trillions of dollars while the rest of us suffer in fucking poverty and fucking oppression. Well, we go to jail for crimes where they can fucking smoke crack in the Ukraine with a bunch of hookers and get fucking elected president. Go fuck yourselves, government. Fucking people are waking up. Bitches. This is humanity's great uprising. 2020 has been the best and the fucking worst year of the entire history of humanity, and we're gonna take this fucking country back. We're gonna take this planet back. 2021. Let's do this. And sorry for getting Jeremy, but and swearing and stuff, man. I'm sorry. I get really passionate about this, man. They killed a lot of great people. All our prophets. And I've been just ripped off and getting ripped off and just, it sucks, man. You work so hard and you do so much and then anyways, I'm going to go to work now. This is not getting anything productive going on, man. I shit on Trump and Biden. I don't support any of these politicians. They don't. They're in it for themselves, and they're in it for the rich, and that's all there is. You and me, and at the end of the day, and the poor people get screwed. All right, that's all it's about. That's politics for you in a nutshell. All right, people hate me for shitting on Biden, and people hate me for shitting on Trump, and I don't care. Biden friggin' likes to sniff little girls, and he gropes their breasts and stuff. You watch videos of it. The guy's a friggin' sick pedophile, and he's probably raped kids. He's got his brother's got an island apparently out near friggin' St. James next to Epstein's. So go figure that one. Yeah, the whole corruption establishment, and look, as much as I hate fucking Trump, you can't deny the evidence that last election was stolen. We have a stolen election. We have election and voter fraud. And most people don't give a fuck because they're just like happy to see Trump gone, just like, oh God, thank God the nightmare is over, and they don't even care. They don't even care that our election system's fucked and that we don't have a vote for who's going to be president ever again. It's just going to continue as be the cycle of fucking scumbag fucking billionaires that politicians, the same ones that probably are compromised heavily. Biden's got to be a pedo, man. That's like this, Look at the videos of him sniffing the hair of these little girls, and like every interaction he has with a female, he just can't. The dude's weird, man. The dude is totally weird. All right, and there's a reason he's your president. It's because he's controllable. He's a fucking puppet. In any case, I'll shit on both presidents, man. Trump wasn't perfect either. He got a lot of things screwed up. I want to declassify everything. I hope that Trump goes on a fucking tear and declassifies all the JFK stuff, all the Roswell stuff. I hope he goes nuts. He just the thing is, I don't think he knows the first place to look. He just likes to pretend and fake that he does. And I don't believe any of that stuff about his uncle and the Tesla papers and all that crap. It's a bunch of friggin' phony baloney. But anyways, we're all going to die on this planet if we stay here and we don't go to space. You know, and then when, yeah, funny how 4 years ago when Trump was elected, all the Dems were screaming voter fraud and manipulation and the election scam. And now that they got their way, they're happy with it. They're content. They're like, oh, no, I guess it's okay. Yeah, it worked out in my favor this time. So it's like, wake up, people, before we have nothing left. Sorry. Hey, continue to share the news and wake up your friends and neighbors, and remember to take this fight out to the street, dude. And who cares if people call you crazy, dude? Really? So what? Like, the conspiracy theorists are sitting around having Thanksgiving dinner while all the normal people are staying home, socially distanced with their masks on and stuff. So, anyways, I don't want to get into that COVID stuff because they'll ban your freaking channel for that. Nice talking to you guys. We'll see you later. Remember, the government does not care about you. It's not about your health, your safety, or your well-being. It's all about control, and it's all about the money. Thank you. Goodbye, poor people.